Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. From today's video, we're going to be discussing about how can we use our speech, our words in a wiser way, right? Now, to do that, in Buddhism, we learn 5 things, 5 rules to follow and ask from ourselves 5 questions before we speak, right? Now, this is taught in regarding to reproving to someone, like showing a mistake to someone. But these 5 rules can be added to our normal day-to-day speech as well. And it will make a greater change and it will make a greater impact on ourselves as well as others. So that is why it is important to understand the words that we speak has got power. There's a beautiful saying that says, words can make people and words can break people. So that understand the words that we speak has got power and it matters. So how can we speak in a wiser way, right? How can we use our words in a wiser way? Now, in Buddhism, we learn 5 rules to follow this, right? 5 questions to ask from ourselves before we speak. Now, the first question that we need to ask from ourselves before we speak something is that, am I speaking in the proper time, right? Sometimes, even though it is true, even though it is truthful what we speak, maybe not the proper time to speak. Now, what is the proper time to speak? Now, the whole idea, the whole point of speaking is to get the message across to the other person in the correct way. But sometimes, even though we are saying the truth, even though we are saying the right thing, that person who is receiving the message may not be in a condition to get the message, right? He or she may be not in a mindset to receive the message. So that if we convey the message, they may not get the same idea that we are having. Now, the whole point of communication is to get the idea, to plant the same idea on the other person, right? But if we did not do in the proper time, it won't work. And that is why in Buddhism we learn, wait until the proper time. Ask from yourself, am I speaking in the proper time, right? Now, for an example, if you need to show a mistake in someone, if you need to correct a mistake in someone, now you need to communicate. That is where you need the communication in, like, it is very important at that time, right? The right communication. But if you say that mistake, if you show that mistake when that person is angry, right? When that person's mind is filled with anger, what happens? They may not get the idea. They may not see the mistake that we are showing. Okay? So what we do, we wait until the anger cools down and open his ears and mind. Now, when our mind is in anger, we are not ready to listen to anyone, right? We are not ready to think about what is wrong or what is right. That is why the Buddha says, "Khuddho attang na jananti." When your mind is in anger, you don't know what is good and bad, right? So that we need to understand. If we need to get a message across to that person, we need to wait for the proper time. Until their mind is open, until their ears are open, until they are ready to listen and understand that message. So that waiting until the proper time is very important when we communicate. That is the first question that we need to ask from ourselves. Am I speaking in the right time? The second thing that we need to follow is, we need to ask from ourselves, am I speaking truthfully? Right? The Buddha says, you need to follow the truthful speech. You need to say the truth. But even though the truth, you need to put it in the right time, in the right place, right? The Buddha says, even I, right? Even the Buddha, even though it is the truth, he waits until the right time to say it. Sometimes it is not the correct time to say the truth, so that we need to wait until that. Now, this doesn't say that we need to tell lies to cover up that, right? This says that you need to be patient and not panicked until you need to use the proper word. So the Buddha says that speaking truthfully is very important. Why? Because when you speak the truth, sometimes you may lose certain things, but when you speak the truth, you gain one very important thing, and that is the truth. That is the trust. Trust is very important in any kind of relationship. And that is why you need to be truthful, but also you need to wait until the proper time. Okay? So that is the second thing that you need to ask. Am I speaking truthfully? And also we learn in Buddhism that speak gently, not harshly. So that you need to ask from yourself, am I speaking harshly? Am I speaking gently? Sometimes what you say is true, right? When you say is the correct time, right? You say it in the correct time. What you say is the truth, but the tone matters, right? The words that we use to convey the message matters. I have seen a lot of people showing others' mistakes with rude and harsh words, sometimes putting them down, like putting their mentality down and hurting their mentality and showing the truth, they're showing a mistake, but they don't get that message. Why? Because they have hurt their mentality. Sometimes when you use such kind of words, their emotions get hurt, so that they're not ready to listen to it. Now, why we convey the message, why we communicate, is we understand that this is the right thing, this is the correct thing, but I need to make him right. I need to make him correct. I don't need to see that mistake again in his life. I need the good of that person. Now, if you truly love that person, you have to use your words in a proper way so that he or she get the fullest message that you are conveying. And that is why we learn in Buddhism that gentle words can change people's mindsets. But rude and harsh words make nothing but people more stubborn in their own ideas. So that understand, gentle words are the best way to change other people's mindsets. There are a lot of examples even in Buddhism that we learn that the Buddha, how Bodhisattva used the gentle words to change people, right? So that understand, speaking gently is very important. Now, what makes a gentle man and a gentle woman is not how you wear, right? It's the words that you speak. It's the way that you behave. It's how gentle you treat other people. That is what makes you a gentleman and a gentlewoman. So understand that speaking gently is really, really important. So ask from yourself, am I speaking gently? And also we learn in Buddhism that your speech must be beneficial for the other person, not harmful. Now, to do that, you need to have an intention that you truly love that person, right? You truly love your idea to see that in that person's mind and making their life much better, right? See the good on them. Now, to do that, you need to speak in a beneficial way so that that person corrects their mistakes, right? That person's life becomes better by listening to your words. So that the Buddha says that always speak beneficial words, not the words that harm other people's life. So then you need to ask from yourself that, am I speaking beneficially but not harmfully? So that understand, you need to speak to the people to see the good on them. And the final question that we need to ask from ourselves is that, am I speaking lovingly, out of love and compassion, not with inner hate? Sometimes we use our words, even though the good words, good things, but we have the inner hate, right? When we have the inner hate, that is the intention behind our words. And that intention can create negative situations in our life and also the other people's lives. And that is why in Buddhist way of right speech, we refrain from all the negative speeches like rude words, harsh words, right? or some mean words that has the negative intentions behind, right? So the intention behind your speech is really, really important. So that ask from yourself that, am I speaking to this person out of love and compassion, not with inner hate, right? So the Buddha says that speak with love and compassion. Okay. Sometimes some people complain, okay, if we speak with love and compassion, they are not ready to understand it. And we believe that speaking with like kind words and compassionate and gentle words will make other people not to understand what we say. Sometimes they say, okay, to make someone understand, we need to use rude and harsh words. But that is not always correct, right? The reason why we believe that using those rude and harsh words is the only way to get the message to that person is because when we were children, we were treated with rude and harsh words, right? We were disciplined in the rude and hard ways, so that we believe that this is the only way to do that, but it is not, right? If we start to use in the correct way your speech, it is pretty sure that you get the message correctly to that person, and also they understand it and they make their mistakes correct. So that these are the 5 things that we need to follow. These are the five questions that we need to ask from ourselves to get the message correctly, to communicate in a correct way, and also to make our speech wiser. So follow these 5 things in your speech and make your life even more better. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome back to another video. We've all heard these words more than 1,000,000 times in our life, and that is to let go of the attachments, and then we will be happy. But saying this is easy, but doing this practically, it is really, really difficult. So let's discuss about what it truly means to let go of the attachments and how to approach it in the correct way. Oftenly, the common perspective of letting go of the attachment is that people think that we have to let go of the things that we are being attached to. That means attachment is occurred by these objects around us. So that to let go of the attachments, we have to let go of the things, and then we will be happy. Now, I have heard these people say that, oh, even the Buddha said that let go of everything and then you will be happy. But Buddha never said to let go of the things or let go of the things that you are being attached to. And also, the Buddha never said that you have to be attached to the things around you. What Buddha said is that understand and realize that one day you have to let go of the things that are around you. And also one day you will have to be separated from the things and from the people that you love and like one day. And realize this and live with them. While living with them, you have to realize that one day this is the reality of my life, that I will have to be separated from them. These things are subjected to change. And that is the true understanding about letting go of the attachments. One of the misconceptions about attachment is that people think, oh, attachment is an object. So that to let go of the attachment, we have to let go of that object. But this is not correct, because if we have to let go of the attachment, and if we have to let go of the things that we have been attached to, then we will never be able to let go of these attachments. Why? Because as human beings, when we come to this world, there are so many things that are around us. There are so many things that we use, right? So if we had to let go of the things, then we will never be able to do that. Because even the body that we use is an object, right? This is not something that we truly own. So if we have to let go of the things, then we have to let go of even our body. But we can't do that in reality. So that understand, the attachment is not an object. Attachment is more of a mind-related thing. Just look at these words from the Buddha. The Buddha said, "They are not sensual pleasures, the pretty things in the world. A person's sensual pleasure is lustful intention. The pretty things remain just as they are in the world, but the wise remove the desire for them. So what Buddha says is, just let the pretty things in the world stay in the same way, and you let go of the desire to wanting to them to be in the way that you want. Wanting things to be permanent is what we have to let go. How we should do that? We should understand that everything is subjected to change. Everything is subjected to impermanence, where we expect things to be permanent, and that is what makes us suffering. So then one can ask, if we let go of the desire, will we be able to enjoy the things? Now, here's the thing. The Buddhist understanding about desire is that it is the mental attachment and thinking that these are mine, these are myself, this is me. It's like dragging a cow from its rope around its neck. Like the cow pulls to his side and we pull to our side. And what happens to us is that our hands get hurt. The reason why our hands get hurt is not because the cow is pulling to his side. The reason why our hand gets hurt is we are gripping the rope so tightly, and we are not ready to let go. And at first, letting go of the rope seems scary. Why? Because we think that we might lose the cow. The cow might run away. But in reality, if we simply let go, yes, the cow may run for a distance, but it will always come back. That's the nature. Even in the life, letting go of the attachments seems scary at first. But when we realize that in this life we have gained nothing and we have lost nothing, it is very, very easy to let go. The reality is that in life, we are not owners of anything. We came to this life owning nothing, and we are living this life owning nothing. So in this little time, we are just using these things around us. So we are not true owners, or we haven't gained anything. So if we haven't gained anything, what we have lost. So how can we train our minds to let go of the attachments? What we should practice? Now, the first step of letting go is to understand the true nature of life. What is the true nature of life? That everything, every experience, every feeling, everyone in our life is subjected to this inherent nature of change. We are constantly changing, right here, even right now. When you understand this, you understand that life is nothing but a bunch of changes. So that when these things change, that we have nothing to hold on to as permanent and wanting things to be according to our own wish. Because the life is undergoing even the constant change right now, right here. When you realize that no one, nothing, no feeling, no experience stays forever in life, or in other words, you cannot step into the same river twice, you realize that thinking about this life as permanent, wanting things to be permanent, is nothing but just an illusion of your mind. We are being eluded from our ignorance. That is what we realize by realizing the true nature of this change in life. It is something like this. Imagine you are going to a magic show and watching the magic show. As long as you don't know how to do the magic, how the magic is done, then you get fooled by it. And as long as you get fooled by it, the magic is a magic for you. But what if we become friends with the magician and we learn how to do the magic? And then again you go to the same magic show and watch the magic show. Now the magic is no longer a magic for you. But still, you can watch the magic show, you can enjoy it, but you know how it happens. You know how it is done, so that you are not being fooled by anything. In the same way, when we realize that this illusion of our mind, that thinking about this permanent, thinking the life and experiences to be permanent is just an illusion of our mind, then you can enjoy the life, and also you can live life in a more wiser and a more experienced and a more matured way. So that is the way we understand about the attachment. This realization will make you more understanding about yourself and the world around you. And it will make you more easily enjoy this world in a more wiser and a more matured way. And also, by understanding about this constant change in your life, you let go of the attachment, you let go of this mind and the thought of wanting things to be permanent. And then the process of letting go will become much more easier. So understand that when we let go, we don't let go of the things. We let go of the mental and the emotional attachment towards things. We let go of that craving towards things, to wanting things to be permanent. And when you realize this, you can let go of this attachment and these expectations very easily. So that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you got some idea about attachment. So I wish you, may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you be happy forever. Namo Buddhaya. One day, a wild bull was walking down a street, and he saw this beautiful paddy field. And the bull was thinking, wow, what a beautiful paddy field. I need to eat some paddy. So what he did was, he jumped to the paddy field and started eating paddy. But there was this farmer who was so mindful, watching the paddy field, and he saw the bull was eating paddy. So what the farmer did, he ran across the paddy field and grabbed the bull from its horns and wrapped the muzzle around the horns and gave a huge blow to the bull. What happened to the bull? The bull was confused. So the bull ran away. But the nature of the bull is that he forgets everything very quickly. And the next day, what happened? The bull was walking down the same street and saw the paddy field, jumped to the paddy field and started eating paddy again. But there was this mindful farmer who was watching the paddy field. He gave a sound beating on that day as well. So this happened for a little while. But there came one day that the bull was thinking, okay, today I don't want to jump into the paddy field. Why? Because I always get beaten up by this guy. So on that day, the bull didn't jump to the paddy field. On that day, the bull was very disciplined when he was near the paddy field. He went and he passed the paddy field without jumping towards it. So the Buddha used this wonderful story and metaphor to give us a beautiful message. The Buddha says, this is the nature of our mind. It's like a wild bull. Forgets everything, runs towards these evil thoughts, and it has no discipline. So the Buddha says how we should discipline, like that mindful farmer. We have to be mindful and watch our thoughts and take control over it. How to take control over our thoughts? So Buddha give us a beautiful way to do that. The Buddha says, whenever your mind runs towards these evil thoughts, what you have to think? You have to think the downside of all these evil thoughts. For an example, if you have hatred in your mind, you have to think, this is not good for myself. This is not good for my physical health. This is not good for my mental health. And this is not good for me as well as others. My hate is not good for me and as well as others. In that way, by considering the downside and the danger of your thoughts, you can stay away from evil thoughts, and also you can discipline your thoughts. But to do every kind of these things, any of these things, we have to have one beautiful quality, and that is the mindfulness. So the Buddha says, watch your mind like a farmer who's watching the paddy field. right? So without mindfulness, we cannot do any kind of these things. We cannot discipline our mind. We cannot take our mind from unwholesomeness to wholesomeness. So we need to have this beautiful quality of mindfulness. And also we need to consider the danger of our thoughts, because one thought can create a beautiful world, and just one thought can destroy this whole world. That is the power of our mind. So understand that the nature of all of our minds are like a wild bull. So many people complain when they start meditating. They say, "Oh, my mind is not busy. My mind is not disciplined. It's always busy. It's running here and there. I'm very scattered-brained." Well, at the beginning, we all are like that. When we start meditation, our minds start to run here and there. Only when we start meditating, we realize that how busy our minds are, how scattered our minds are. So what we have to do, whenever our mind gets distracted or disturbed or running into these kind of evil thoughts, we have to kindly bring it back to the wholesomeness. You may have to do this again and again. You may have to do it for years, but there will be a day, definitely, there will be a day that your mind becomes disciplined, but only if you keep doing this, right? It's all about the little steps that you take to discipline your mind every single day. And every practice adds up to your life. That is the wonder of this beautiful Buddhist path. Every practice that Buddha teaches us adds up, and it always helps to us. So, I know, and we all know, that it is not easy to discipline our mind. But even though it is difficult, it is not easy, it is painful, we have to do it again and again, keep doing it until that beautiful day comes, that we gain a beautiful, disciplined mind. So keep practicing disciplining our mind and be happy. Namo Buddhaya. So for a lay person practicing in life, we all need to balance this. But how? Ask that wise question. What is it? How? How to be balanced? I would say it is all about what we give priority to. It's all about priority, right? I will ask a question. Why are you here today? You had work, you had other things to do, right? You had other responsibilities to do, but you made time for 3 hours to come here and just sit down and listen. Why? Because it was important. It was important to you. The person inside you taught you that, okay, this is important. Put it on the first place in the list. Today I'm participating to this. And that is why you came here. That is priority. But so many people complain. They complain to me sometimes. They come and ask, it's very difficult to meditate. It's very difficult to maybe practice the spirituality. Why? It's all about giving priority to it. See, no matter what happens in life, we eat food, don't we? We eat. No matter what happened, how much busy was the day, we eat food. You know? No matter what happened, we eat that. We do that. Why? Because it is prioritized. Okay? No matter what happened during the day, what we do? We clean ourselves. Why? Because it is the priority. No matter what happened during the day, don't you hang out on social media?
isn't it? Yes. Why? Because it is the priority. So why can't we do maybe 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of spiritual practice during the day? No matter what happened, no matter how much busy the day was, it's all about what you give priority to. It's about how much value that you give to the spiritual life. Understand that giving the priority to spiritual life also essential for all of you.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Today, from this video, I'm going to be answering one of the most practical questions that I get asked about meditation. And that is, what should I do when my legs go numb? Or what should I do when my legs go sleep? Now, this is one common feeling that we all feel when starting to meditate. Especially for beginners, when they're not used to the meditation or meditation posture, they might get this feeling of legs going numb and not feeling their legs. And sometimes you get even the pins and needle feeling in your legs. So most of the time, the beginners get so much afraid of this feeling, and they say like, it's difficult and something that is not usual and this is not pleasant. I can't do this. But here's the thing. This numbness and this legs falling asleep and this pins and needle feeling is not something that is related to meditation. It is related to the posture. This feeling happens when your nerves get extra pressure. One of the mistakes that most of the people do is, as soon as they feel the numbness in their legs, they change the posture. Because when you change the posture, the numbness go away. But here's one thing happen. When you change the posture and go for another posture, even in that posture, you will start to feel the numbness because of the extra pressure on your nerves. So rather than changing the posture, one thing that you can do is to be a little bit mindful about the pain. Okay? Watch the pain and how you feel it and observe it. And then when you stay for a little while with this pain and numbness, gradually it will start to go away because your body get used to this posture. Okay, and when you stay for a little while and when you stay for a long period of time in that posture, then now you are getting used to stay in meditation, sitting meditation in sitting postures for a long time. Okay, that is one of the main things and main skills that we have to develop in meditation, is to sit for a long time and enjoying sitting for a long time, because sitting is one of the most difficult things, and just to focus on your breath is one of the most difficult things that people find to do, because your mind, and we like to be distracted and we like to do a lot of things but not a one thing, right? So it is much better to stay in your posture and be mindful about that numbness or this pain or that pins and needleness in your legs, and pretty sure after a little while the numbness will go away. Okay, but if you keep changing the posture, you will never get the practice and your body will never get used to these postures. So this is the solution for your legs to fall asleep or go numb, or you feel this pins and needleness. So stay for a little while in the meditation and observing and being mindful about this numbness in your legs, and then it will gradually go away. But if the conditions and if these feelings prevail for a long time, maybe there's another problem with your body about this feeling. So what you can do is you can simply change the posture, but if only this pain or this feeling prevails for a long time only. But if not, just be mindful about it and observe it, and then you will see that the pain and numbness will go away. Keep practicing meditation. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Good evening, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to another video. From today's video, let's discuss about how can we deal with anxiety and what to do when our mind becomes anxious, right? We all know that how it is painful when our mind becomes anxious and when we become afraid of the things that will happen in the future, or when the mind creates all these scenarios in our head about the things that will happen in the future, right? So how can we deal with this state of mind? There are a few things that we can do, right? But most of the time, when we become anxious, what happens is we become panicked and we take decisions that may not be the correct decision to take. Okay, so today I'm going to be sharing with you few things and few advices that I have given and that helped me a lot personally to deal with this anxiety. So the first thing that you have to do is, first, you have to be aware of your mental state, right? If you're anxious, if you're afraid of something, the first thing is to be aware of it and to accept it, right? Most of the time, we pretend not to be anxious. We pretend not to be fearful about the future, and we try to reject that state of our mind. The more we reject, the more it persists in our mind. So that is why the first step is to acknowledge and accept your current state of your mind. If you're anxious, just say to yourself, okay, now my thoughts are in anxiety mode. Right? My thoughts are anxious. I am fearing about certain things. Acceptance will help you to catch the thought and to be more aware of it. And also, when you accept it, it creates less pain, right? Acceptance is the first step of healing. So the first step is to accept your current mental state. And the second step is, this is amazing, once you understand the current state of your mind, what you have to do, the biggest advice that I have given about anxiety is do one thing at a time, right? Take one action at a time, right? We all know that when we have lot to do, right? When we have many jobs to do, what happens? We start thinking about everything. Right? We started loading these thoughts into our mind every time, and we try to do all at once. But in reality, we can't do all at once, right? One thing that we can do is we can take one job, one action at a time, and do that, right? So how to do this? First of all, to clarify your thoughts and to be clear about what you have to do and what you can do and cannot do, first, sit down in a quiet place, take a piece of paper and write down all the things that you are fearing about, and write down all the things about the current situation that you are in. And also, most importantly, you have to write down the things that are in your control and things that are out of your control. When you clarify these things, you can take actions upon the things that are under your control. So one thing that you can do is sit down, write down all the thoughts, write down current situation of your life, and write down all the things that are under your control and not under your control, so that you're very clear about what to do and what not to do, right? So when you clarify that and take one action, just one action, and what you have to do, just execute that action, right? Don't try to do all the things, just pick one action and do it at one. It's something like this, right? Something like you're grabbing a bunch of oranges, right? What will happen if you try to grab a bunch of oranges at once? You can't grab all of them, right? It will fall, they will fall. So one thing that you can do is pick a basket, take one orange at a time and put it into the basket. In that way, you can grab many oranges. In the same way, when you clarify your thoughts and take one action at a time and execute it, then it will be clear in your mind and it will ease up your mental state. So do one thing at a time. And the third step is to do it slowly and deliberately, right? Even when you become clarified about what to do, don't be anxious, don't be panicked. What do you have to do? Do it slowly, right? One thing that a lot of meditation masters teach is that when you're anxious, do something slowly, right? Slow down. When your body becomes slow down, your mind becomes slow down. That's the connection between the body and our mind. When our mind is slow, our body is slow. When our body is slow, our mind is slow. So do things, take that action and do it slowly and deliberately. Do it with proper consciousness, proper awareness, and proper mindfulness. That's so that you feel what you're doing. Then you understand what you're doing, right? So in that way, you can ease up this anxiety. And the last thing that you have to do is do it completely, right? Complete the action. When we are anxious about certain things, what we do, we don't complete that action, right? We just hang over that problem or that task, and we don't complete it, right? One thing that you have to do is do it completely, right? Complete your action, do it slowly, deliberately, and finally complete that action so that that step is finished, right? And then once you complete that action, what do you have to do? Take the next step and do it slowly, deliberately, and completely. In that way, you can clarify what you have to do, and also you will get a good time to take good decisions. So this is a little way and a tiny practice that you can add to your life to ease up your pain of anxiety. And whenever you're anxious about certain things, try this and it will ease up your pain of anxiety. So keep this little advice in your mind and be happy. Now with the higher. Welcome to another video. From today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you one of the most beautiful poems from the Buddha. Now, when it comes to poems, the Buddha had a great talent of uttering poems or uttering verses. We call them gathas in Buddhist texts. So there's a whole array of books that are dedicated only for the verses or the poems that was uttered by the Buddha. For an example, the Dhammapada only contains the verses that was uttered by the Buddha. Sutta Nipata, there's another book called Sutta Nipata, which contains only the verses. So when it comes to uttering poems, the Buddha had a great talent. And these poems are very rich with the direct teachings from the Buddha and very deep meanings about the life. So here's one poem from the Buddha that can inspire you and also that can give you a lot of teachings about the life. The Buddha says, "Let not a person revive the past or on the future build his hopes, for the past has been left behind and the future has not been reached. Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state." Now, this explains about the mindfulness. This is the whole point of practicing the Buddhist way of mindfulness. Now, when it comes to mindfulness, the word that is given in Pali language for mindfulness is sati. Sati is not always a Buddhist word, or mindfulness is not always a Buddhist word, because before the Buddha also, there were people who practiced sati, but that sati serves a different purpose. Now, if you ask from a normal person who practices the mindfulness or who practices the mindfulness meditations, why do you practice mindfulness? You can answer like, okay, mindfulness helps me to relieve from the stress, right? It makes the things easier. And also it helps me to watch my anger and to control it. Now, it is true that all these purposes are served by the mindfulness, right? All these things are served by the mindfulness to control your anger, to control your emotions, to be more mindful, and also to relieve the stress from your life. It serves that purpose. But in Buddhist practice, the mindfulness serves a purpose that is beyond from these purposes. Okay, the Buddha says, "Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state." Now, this is the whole point of practicing the Buddhist way of mindfulness, which we call sammasati. It is to see the change it is to see the impermanence nature of life. In the first, the Buddha says, let not a person revive the past. That means, if you understand what is past, the past is gone. It is over now, right? So the Buddha says, do not run back into the past or on the future build his hopes, right? Do not build hopes for the future. Why? The Buddha says, for the past has been left behind. Now, what is past is over now. It doesn't exist, right? And the future has not been reached. Still, the future hasn't reached. So instead, what we have to do is, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state. What we have to do is to contemplate, to focus our mind, to focus our awareness on this present state of mind. We only live in this present moment, right? We don't live in past. We don't live in future. We can't live in past or we can't live in future. We only have the only moment that we own in this life is this moment that is fleeting. So what Buddha says is to be more mindful about the experiences that happens in this present moment. Because if you think about the past, it is just an illusion of your mind, right? For an example, we can think about the experiences that happened in the past. We can regenerate that experience in our mind. But that experience is something that happens when we think about the past. That experience is something that happens in right now, but it is disguised as past. We think it is past. Who thinks it is past? We think it, right? But that very thought happens in this very moment. Okay? So how to practice the mindfulness is to be less judgmental or to be no judgment, to have no judgment about the experiences that happens in this present moment, and also to be more aware of it, right? Mindfulness is non-judgmental awareness. For an example, someone can think, okay, when you become mindful, you only keep your mind in the good place, in a good state. No, the Buddha says, saragang va chittang, saragang chittang ti bhajanati. That means when one has a lustful mind, he understands that lustful mind as it is, right? That means when he has anger in his mind, he understands the state of mind, that thought, as anger. Now, the problem is we become so much judgmental about the experiences that we have. Either we try to react positively, either we try to respond positively or to react negatively, right? For an example, let's say we have an uncomfortable thought in our mind. For an example, like anger. What we do is we try to reject that thought, right? We try to reject and we try to push that thought out of our mind. The more we push, the more we create the anger. Okay? So in mindfulness, what we do is we don't judge, we don't label that thought, we just see it as it is. Now, when you do that, you start to not to react to that very thought. And once you start to not to react, once you stop your reactions, what happens? The angry thought is no longer an angry thought, because an angry thought becomes an angry thought when we start to react to it, right? It's something like this. Like you're seeing a traffic pass by, right? You're sitting beside the road and you're seeing a traffic pass by. You don't jump into the middle of the road and you don't try to stop the vehicles. Or you don't try to chase behind the vehicles. What you do is you sit beside the road and you look at the vehicles and understand it as it is, right? So that you don't involve in them. You don't become judgmental about them, okay? And that is the practice of mindfulness. Whatever comes to your mind, you're mindful of it. The problem is why we become angry, why we become jealous, And why all these evil thoughts come to our mind is we are not mindful of it. Once you learn how to be mindful, you start to be less judgmental and less reactive to those thoughts, right? And also, you start to think before you act, right? Your mind becomes slower and slower so that you can catch the very thought when it arises. And that is the pinnacle of practicing the mindfulness. And also, then you understand that every thought has its own arising and it passes away, right? So every experience that we have has the nature of arising and passing away. Once you realize this nature, the arising nature and the passing away nature, that is what we call the impermanence. And that is called the true nature of life. In Pali, we call it anicca, the change. Now, the Buddha says, once you realize something is subjected to change, and once you realize that everything is subjected to change, everything is anicca, the next realization is if something is subjected to change, it is suffering, right? It is related to suffering. For an example, every suffering in our life, right? Every painful situation, every suffering that we have in our life is due to change, right? We think that we wish the things are not to change, but they change. We wish that certain experiences to not to change, but they changes. We expect that people to not to change, but they change. So every suffering in our life is due to change or anicca. So the Buddha says, yada niccang tan dukkhang. What is subjected to change is suffering. And the next part is yan dukkhang tadanatta. If something is suffering, that should not be considered as self, I or mine or myself, right? So the Buddha says, if something is subjected to suffering, it should not be considered as self or myself. So that is the way to understand the concept of not self. So these three signs of this existence, these three signatas of existence, which is called the anicca, the impermanence, and dukkha, suffering, and anatta, the not self, is the three signata. These are the three signs of this existence, and the whole point of practicing the Buddhist way of mindfulness is to understand these three signatas, the reality of life. So that is why the Buddha says, when you practice mindfulness, when you contemplate and when you focus your mind to this present moment, when it is arising, you know it. When it passes away, you know it. You are mindful of it. And that is the way to understand the true nature of our life. And the next part of this verse is so beautiful. It is so inspiring. The Buddha says, today the effort must be made. Tomorrow death may come. Who knows? No bargain with mortality. That is one beautiful word. No bargain with mortality. Understand that we all are mortal people. We all are subjected to death, and we all are dying. And there is no bargain with it. When that incident comes to our life, we have to get ready to go. So that when you understand this, the living moment, this present moment is so valuable for you to practice this dharma, for you to practice this spirituality, right? Once you understand that you are subjected to death, you value the value of life. And in the next part, the Buddha says, can keep him and his hordes away, but one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day and night, it is he, the peaceful sage has said, who has had a single excellent night. Once you understand the true nature of the existence, and once you are not running back to the past, and once you learn how to not to expect the future, and once you learn how to be in this present moment, and to understand the true nature of life, you can live an excellent night or an excellent day or an excellent life. So this is what Buddha meant from this beautiful poem. So the whole point of practicing the mindfulness in Buddhist practice is to understand the impermanence of life. So I think this little poem will help you to understand more about the Buddha's way of practicing mindfulness. So I have mentioned all the links and all the things that you need to read about this sutra and this poem in the descriptions below. So go check it out them, and also try to practice this mindfulness in your life. Try to add it to your daily life and enjoy a peaceful and a happier life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. We all know that it is very easy for all of us to judge someone by their character, by how they speak, by how they behave, by how they deal with problems. It is very easy to make these assumptions. But most of the times, these judgments that we make are not always the correct, right? Sometimes we think about a person as, in a way, this person is good, either good or bad. But later we realize that they are not as good as they are. They are not as bad as they look, right? So the judgments that we make are not always correct. But to deal with people, to be with people, to make relationship with people, we need to understand people. Somehow we need to have a good idea about who the person is. But it takes a very long time to understand. So today from this video, I'm going to share some valuable facts from the Buddha that was preached by the Buddha about how to make judgments, how to predict a person, how to understand the character of a person. The Buddha explained this in a sutra in Anguttara Nikaya. The Buddha says, by living together with a person, his virtue can be known. And this too, only after a long time, not casually. By close attention, not without attention. By one who is wise, not by one who is stupid. Now what Buddha means by this is that if you need to understand someone's virtue, someone's life moralities, someone's ethical behaviors, you need to take a good time to understand it. You can't just look at a person and judge by their actions and how they behave, right? The Buddha says this to be known, the virtue can only be known, this too only after a long time, not casually. So what Buddha invites all of us to do is to take a good time. You deal with a person by being with that person, by living together with that person. You will gain some idea about their virtue, right? How trustful they are, how they behave. But this too take a long time. So what Buddha tells from this is to not to be panicked, to understand or to make judgments about a person. And then the Buddha says, pay a close attention, not without attention, right? If you didn't pay attention to their virtues, you may not be able to understand that person. And also the Buddha says, a person can be known, their virtues can be known only by who is wise, not by one who is stupid, right? So you need to be very wise when you understand about someone's character. And also the Buddha says, by having dealings with the person, his integrity can be known. And this too only after a long time, not casually, by close attention, not without attention, by one who is wise, not by one who is stupid. So the Buddha says their integrity, right, their character, how faithful they are, or how loyal they are, right, how trustful they are, only you can understand about this after a very long time. And then the Buddha says about a special thing. The Buddha says, in misfortune or in misfortune, a person's fortitude, a person's patience can be known. And this too only after a long time, right? How to judge someone's patience? When they experience misfortune, when they are going through adversities, when they are going through difficult times in their life, only we can understand how patient they are, how much they have practiced this patience, how much courage and how much grit that they have in their life, right? But this also to what? You need to take a good time. It's not easy for all of us to understand about a person with a short period of time, right? You may think, okay, I understood the person, but it is not, right? Human minds are so much complicated and so much complex when it comes to understanding, right? It's not easy to understand. That is why the Buddha said, the difference between animals, like the other animals and humans, is that the other animals, they express their mistakes, they express their weaknesses. But humans, it is very difficult. The Buddha himself says that it is very difficult to deal with humans. It is very difficult to understand a human. Why? Because a human will always cover their weaknesses. They hide their weaknesses. So it is not easy to understand. So what Buddha means by all this sutra is that you can't judge a person by just casually. You have to take a good time. You have to be patient. You have to have a good mind of understanding to take a good idea about that person is, right? And also then the Buddha says how to judge a person's wisdom, how wise they are. The Buddha says, by conversation, a person's wisdom can be known. And this too, only after a long time, not casually. And by close attention, not without attention. By one who is wise, and not by one who is stupid, right? So to understand someone's wisdom, to understand how wise they are, you have to have a good conversation, deep conversations about life. And also, you have to take a good time to understand their wisdom, okay? Because sometimes the people who appear to be wise, people who appear to be good, are not always as good as they look, right? So I hope you got some idea about how to judge and how to understand a person's character. So I would like to end this video with a wonderful quote by Mrs. Dow Santamata. In her quote, she says, "It is easy to judge. It is more difficult to understand. Understanding requires compassion, patience, and a willingness to believe that good hearts sometimes choose poor methods. Through judging, we separate. Through understanding, we grow." So, I would like to invite all of you to not to be too quick to judge someone, and do not judge a book by its cover. So, take a good time to understand about people. Take care. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. From today's video, we are going to answer one of the most frequently asked questions in Buddhism. Can we change our karma? Or can we change our past karma? Can we do anything about it? Now, to understand about this, first we need to understand what karma is. Now, in almost all the Indian religions, there are a lot of teachings about karma. Karma is a bigger teaching in almost all the Indian religions. In Hinduism, in Jainism, in Buddhism, there are a lot of teachings about karma. But the Buddhist approach of karma, or the Buddhist way of definition of karma, is slightly different than the other Indian religions, right? So this is how Buddha defined the karma. The Buddha says, "Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami." Monks, I say, intention is the karma. So when it comes to these statements from the Buddha means is that karma, the action, is more of a mind-related thing. That is why the Buddha says intention is karma. So intentions are generated in our mind. So what Buddha saw is that it is not just the action, it is the intention behind the action what defines the karma. So this is the Buddhist definition of karma. Now we'll come to the question. What is it? Can we change the karma? Right? Now, first of all, we need to correct the question and then answer it. Why? Because karma, what people mean by asking, can we change karma, is that can I change what I have done in the past and can I change the consequences of those karma? Okay. So first we need to understand that karma or this intention is generated right now, right here. Right? The karma is not something that is past. Karma is something that you do right now, this present moment. Right? So this present moment, the karma can be changed. Why? Because it is always your choice. The choice is a karma. So it is your choice is totally under your control. Some people think that, okay, our choices and our experiences are not totally under our control. The choices that we make are predetermined, or due to the past karma, we make choices right now. But Buddha did not agree to this idea. What Buddha says is, yes, your life is affected by the past karma, but it is not the only thing that your life is affected, but you can change your karma by making good choices, by taking the right action. That is why Buddha praised a lot about the taking right action. So understand that karma happens right now, and that means the karma is totally under your control. But what people ask is that, can I change the karma? No. First you need to correct the question, can we change the consequences of our karma? Which means vipaka. Now, with the package of karma, there comes another word which is not much famous, and that is vipaka. Vipaka means the consequences of karma. So basically, what karma is, the cause and effect phenomena. That means we make causes for something and there will be an effect because of that cause. We do some actions and then we get consequences of those actions. So this is the basic understanding of karma. So can we change vipaka? It is not totally under our control. We don't know what we have done in the past. So the only thing that we can do is just to go through those experiences. Now, it is also important to remember that our life is not totally dependent on karma. Karma is only one thing that our life is affected. Okay? So let's say you're going through a consequence of your past karma. So can you do anything about that? You can't do it, because only thing that you can do is you have to face that experience. But you can change how you react to that experience, right? Whether it is good or bad, you can take right action, right choice, right now, right here, to face that in a good way. So if we take the right action and right choice right here, then we can stop the karma repeating again and again. Right? Let's say you're going through a bad experience due to a past karma, and if you react the same way, right? If you fall down, if you become angry, if you spread hate because of that pain and suffering, then you create some more suffering karma to go through some bad experiences in the future. But if you take right action and if you become wise and patient and mindful, then you can stop the karma from repeating. So in that way, you take control of your choices. So understand, basically, there is very few space for us to take control of what we have done in the past and the consequences of them, but we totally have the control that we make the choice right now, right here. So keep this beautiful advice from the Buddha in your heart and be happy. Namo Buddhaya. The Buddha once said, "He who sits alone, lies down alone, walks alone, in diligent practice, and alone tames himself, should find delight in living in the forest." Living alone, being alone, can be scary for many people these days. Oftenly, our society portrays a successful life, a happier life, a good life, as a life where it is surrounded by people. surrounded by things. But there's a reason why almost all the spiritual practices, almost all the spiritual pathways praise and promote this living alone, life in the place of a solitude practice, a solitude life. And that is why almost all the religious leaders had to solitude themselves from these hassles and bustles of this society and go to these quiet places and find the liberation and find what they were looking for. Same went with the Supreme Buddha. Before he became the Buddha, he was a prince. He was living in a palace. He was indulging himself with this sensual pleasure. And then he understood, indulging in this sensual pleasure doesn't help me to find what I'm looking for. So what he did was he left the palace and he went from one forest to another, meditating, finding this peace, this ultimate peace, right? So living alone can be a blessing. It is a blessing when it is converted to a blessing, right? But living alone can be a curse as well for many people. That is why people, most of the time, they are scary. They're afraid of living alone, right? Most of the time, people come to me and say, I'm lonely. I'm living alone. I'm living by myself. But I feel so much lonely, so much negative thoughts coming into my mind. What should I do? That is what happens when you turn this loneliness into a curse. Trust me, it all depends on how you think and how you use this time. I will tell you a story. Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, left the palace and he went to a forest. Although he went to a forest, there were 5 monks who was waiting for him to come to the forest. There were 5 monks who were helping Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, with the meditation before his awakening. And then these 5 monks had this idea that only way to find the liberation is by giving this tortures and doing these hard meditations and harsh meditations and extreme meditations. So we call it Atta Kilamatthana Yoga, which we can translate into English as self-mortification, right? Now, Prince Siddhartha left one extreme when he left the palace. That extreme is, the Buddha described this as the extreme of sensual pleasures, indulging in the sensual pleasures. That was one extreme. And then Prince Siddhartha came to the other extreme where he practiced this self-mortification, giving these extreme and harsh meditations to the body. And then those 5 monks, they believed that this is the only way for the liberation. So Prince Siddhartha was practicing these meditations for 6 years. And finally he understood this extreme, being in this extreme, doesn't help me either. So then he found the middle path, the middle way. And that is to live a spiritual life by balancing his material and spiritual life both, right? And that is why after that decision, he decided to take some food to his body. After a long time he had taken some food to his body, he grabbed his alms bowl and went on begging alms and find some food and had it. Now all those 5 monks had a lot of expectations on Prince Siddhartha. And then they saw this incident. And then they became disappointed. They said, "Oh, what a disappointment. We believed him. We had a lot of expectations on him. But look what now happened. He's taking food. Maybe soon he will go back to his palace and he will live a normal life again. So the best decision is to leave him." So what happened? All these 5 monks left Prince Siddhartha. And after this alms round, he came back to the forest and he saw everyone had left. No one was there. Prince Siddhartha was alone. Then he found this perfect environment, perfect place to be focused more into himself. That was because he was all alone. Right? He got the opportunity to be by himself, right? Focus more into himself. And one day, he sat under the Bodhi tree and he became awakened. He became enlightened, right? So this solitude, when it is turned to, when it is used in the correct way, it can be a blessing for you, right? And the same solitude can be turned into a curse as well. Right? Most of the people, they complain me about the loneliness. I always say to them, when you're lonely, your thought process generates a certain energy within you, right? And that can be negative. Now, let's say you are in this negative energy environment and a negative energy thought process. You all know in science we learn about, according to science, it says that energy cannot be produced or destroyed. Now you have your energy within you, but it is negative, right? Now you can't destroy this negative energy, right? What we are trying in this whole life is to destroy this negative energy. Well, we can't do that. The only thing that we can do is to convert this negative energy, drive this negative energy to something positive, right? So how can we drive this loneliness, this energy to something positive? One of the biggest reasons why people feel lonely is because they lack an aim, a goal to their life. If they have a goal and aim that they should work on, if they have a system that they should work on, then they don't feel that much lonely because they have something to do. They have something to engage with it, right? So this can go either. People can have either material goals or spiritual goals, but everyone must have these spiritual goals within themselves, no matter what life they are coming from, right? Because finally, there will be a time in all of our lives that we come to this lonely place. One day we have to be by ourselves with no one else around us. Right? At that time, if we don't have any quality, any spiritual quality that we have practiced within us, we'll start feeling lonely again and again. And it will start to build up this negative energy within us. Okay? And sometimes we can be too late for that to make it correct. So the best thing is to learn how to convert this negative energy to something positive, right? To do that, you have to have a goal and an aim for yourself, to yourself. Always ask from yourself, what should I do in my life? Who should I become in my life? What should I build up? What qualities should I work on in my life? If you found, we will always find some qualities that we should work on, right? Some mistakes that we have, some weaknesses within us. If we can work on those weaknesses and make it correct, that time will help you to be more successful, more productive, right? More happy and a more peaceful person. But to do that, what do you need? You need time, right? You need time to be focused on yourself. And what gives you the best time to be focused on yourself is the time when you are all alone. Right? And that is why I always say for people, have a time during the day only for yourself, a separate time. Probably people call it me time. Okay, that's a good thing. Having a me time for yourself during the day is essential. Okay, so I would say as a practical thing, apply it to your life. That is to have a separate, at least 15 minutes. It's okay. No matter how much you spend the time, but if it is for yourself, that is helpful, right? At least spend a 15 minutes of time, right? Sitting down, being by yourself, all alone, right? Not with your mobile phones, not with your Netflix account, not with your movies or anything. Just be by yourself, right? And then learn how to be with your own thoughts, right? Then only we can be more focused to ourselves, right? So I hope you got some idea about how to convert this loneliness into the solitude. So apply this little practice to your life and enjoy the solitude in your life. Namo Buddhaya.